Eat Simple rule number 5 is push your meal intervals. Now, this layers over top of some of the other concepts I've shared with you already, right? So if you think about always answering hunger with a meal, eating to satiety, breaking fast epically, prioritizing protein, having this sort of concept of meals consumed, the human being a meal eating animal rather than a snacking grazing animal. This rule fits in here perfectly because if you're answering hunger all the way to satiety, you're going to achieve a durability of satiety that lasts for many hours. A durability of satiety that lasts for many hours. I don't actually care how many hours. It doesn't matter because we're always trusting hunger. And whenever the next hunger of the day shows up, you go back to Eat Simple rule number 1, you answer hunger with a meal. It works perfectly every time. What ends up happening, as I talked about when I referred to the lesson on the funnel, which was Eat Simple rule number 4, is we just end up eating meals when we feel hungry and snacking goes away. And the elimination of snacking is a really freaking crucial weight loss tool because the snacks are where things get away from us. No one's really getting fat from their meals, like healthy, normal human meals. It's all the other eating we do outside of meals. That's because I think we're not nailing meals. We need to nail meals. We are a meal eating animal. We are a feasting and fasting animal. I am going to touch on fasting as a concept in this lesson later. We push our meal intervals not by white knuckling it through snack urges, but by simply not being hungry. So when I say push your meal intervals, what I mean by that is I want you to simply pay attention to hunger signals and notice that you can go a long time between meals. It's just cool because you can do other things now, quite frankly. A lot of the commentary I hear from people who work with me, tell me if this resonates with you, is that we tend to end up thinking about food a lot. So women especially, if you've ever been kind of embroiled in any kind of dieting, you're always thinking about, am I eating enough? Am I eating too much? Should I have this? Should I have that? Is this naughty? Is this virtuous? We have so much, food noise, don't we, about food. Now, food noise is so interesting because I've been preaching this effortless relationship with food since 2012. It's been my tagline on my website since I purchased the web domain, sitting in the back of my nutrition class, realizing that we've made nutrition way too hard for humans. And I was set out to really change that. I wanted people to have an effortless, easy relationship with food. Now we're talking and we're hearing about this concept of food noise in the context of GLP-1 medications, Ozempic, Wegovy, etc. And you all know I've tried those drugs, just in case you didn't know that. Go back and listen to that podcast episode. I gave it a try. One of the factors of this medication that makes it work for people for weight loss is their quote unquote food noise goes away. I'm not thinking about food all the time. I'm not always just chasing my cravings. I suddenly don't feel the need to rifle through the pantry in between Zoom meetings at my home office. This is the quietening of food noise, and the medication does that by queuing up a long satiety signal. The way the medication does that, and I go into great detail with this in my Ozempic episode, the way the medication does that is by delaying gastric emptying. So it's basically creating a long-term satiety signal such that you just don't think about food because your body's like, we're good. But guess what? You can do that with eating. And I'm not here to downplay these medications because I think they're quite useful for some people. But you can create the same experience of quiet or food noise by being well satiated from your meals. So satiety is the play. You can create satiety by eating satiating meals of human food. All of the lessons that led up to this one are teaching you how to do that. So just to reiterate those parameters, Eat Simple rule number 1, always answer hunger with a meal and eat to satiety. So understand what hunger feels like, trust hunger, answer it with a full meal of food that takes you to a obvious satiety point, which is I can't eat any more food. That's the feeling of satiety. Prioritize protein. That's Eat Simple rule number 2. Put protein on the plate because protein, very crucial for an omnivore animal like you, very crucial if you're a woman in midlife because we're precipitously losing lean body mass, and women in midlife, us Gen X women, we've been taught to diet and shrink and burn our bodies away, and that's not working for us as we get into menopause and beyond. So we need to build the body back up, and protein does that. Also, protein is thought to be the leverage point for the satiety signal, the protein leverage hypothesis. So the body cues up the satiety signal when the amino acid complement in the blood, among other things, has been met. Eat simple rule number 3, break fast epically. So we really put the hammer down on these first two concepts by having a massive meal in the early part of the day, which makes sense from a circadian rhythm perspective, because in the early part of the day, the daytime hours are when our body is most poised to take up and put nourishment away, thus quietening your later hunger signals. When the body is well nourished, there goes food noise, it's gone. When the body is well nourished, it doesn't cue up the need for further nourishment because you're nourished. And because we're diurnal animals, that call for nourishment comes in the early part of the day. If we can break fast epically, this is a protein dominant meal eaten when your first hunger of the day shows up, and I don't care what time that is. If you deliver that meal appropriately, you will have quieter food noise for the rest of the day, which brings me to eat simple rule number 4, which is the funnel, which is a meal timing philosophy where food intake tapers as the day goes on because it goes from daytime to nighttime. We should not be consuming most of our daily food in the afternoon and evening. It should be coming in the early part of the day because, once again, we're diurnal. Now, culturally, we do eat most of our food in the afternoon and evening because we have our 3 p.m. sugar crash. So we go raid the vending machine or the pantry. Then we have our big meal with the family. We're starving because we didn't eat all day. Then we have snacks in front of the TV before bed. And that's very upside down from our circadian rhythm. And I think flipping the script on that circadian meal timing is a massive move to make for your metabolic health. So all of those parameters, and I use the word parameter because I feel like it's a little less rigid than the word rule, which sounds very strict, and I'm not a strict girly. So these parameters bring us to where we are right now, which is, hey, just notice if you can go longer between meals before you feel the call for hunger again. Hey, just notice if your food noise is quieter. Now that I know that food noise is such a marketable term, I really wish that I'd glommed onto it, 12 years ago when I created these rules. When I say push your meal intervals, what I mean is notice the durability of satiety. Notice how your cravings vanish, how the urge to go and open the fridge and rifle through the cupboards has gone away. Notice that you don't feel like you need to snack to take the edge off hunger. You're fully nourished. Your body is putting that nourishment away to work. You don't have to manage cravings or hunger or appetite in between meals because you handled it at mealtime. Now you get your mind share back. Quietening food noise gives you back your mind share. By that, I mean, you're not just thinking about food all the time. You can actually live your life, opt back into your life. Maybe you can function at work or function at life at home with your family. Maybe you're just a more functioning human because you're not constantly preoccupied by your own unanswered hunger. Like truly tapping into the satiety signal and riding the durability of satiety is a life-changing endeavor just because you get to stop obsessing about food. And maybe you don't think you do obsess about food. Maybe you don't. But most of the people that I talk to self-identify as being overly fixated on food. And that's not normal. Yeah, we are in no danger of starving. There's no reason why a modern human living a cushy modern human experience with a $2,000 computer in our pocket, we're rich. We're not running out of food. We're not going to starve and die. There's no reason why any of us is worried biologically about our nutrient needs. They should be quietly well met. It's just so easy to be well nourished in our modern human life. Diet programming teaches us to be very preoccupied about how much of what we're eating, but biologically, it's not that much of a going concern, quite frankly. So notice the durability of satiety. In one of the earlier lessons, I did describe a human as being a feasting and fasting animal. So we're an animal that sits down and feasts, and then we go a long time without needing to eat again. That's our biology. We are not a grazing animal. So the 7 small meals a day that your personal trainer told you to eat, that's totally invented. I wouldn't do that. It's not going to feel good. Plus, it's a pain in the ass because who has that kind of time to just constantly think about food? Truly, if you're eating 7 small meals a day, you're just constantly waiting for your next meal or thinking about your next meal or heating it up in the microwave. We're not doing that. We're following a human diet, and humans are feasting and fasting animals. When you think about us as this opportunistic omnivore, so we're mostly a meat-eating animal, well, that requires, some semblance of hunting or acquiring a hard-to-get food and then just eating all of it. We are a feasting animal, much like a lion is a feasting animal or a shark is a feasting animal, right? Not a cow or a horse. We're more lion-shark oriented. A lot of really cool functions happen in the body when you're not busy digesting food. So if we're not digesting food or metabolizing nourishment, then the body can go about repairing and doing a lot of cool cellular cleanup. You might have heard of the phrase autophagy. It's not something I care that much about. I mean, it's interesting. I care a lot about the functions of the body. I think the body's a freaking miraculous, cool technology, and we just got it for free when we were born. If you don't know what it is, it's basically the act of cellular cleanup, kind of cleaning up old dead cell matter and making sure your body's very like neat and tidy and operating well. And you can imagine, like, if we take this sort of clean up metaphor and go with it, like if you have an eating paradigm that doesn't allow your body to take the time to clean up dead cell matter, then you're probably carrying around a lot of dead cell matter. That just doesn't sound healthy. That sounds a little toxic, a little problematic, right? So giving the body time to do other things besides wanting food or processing food is really useful because the body has a lot of other things to do. Contrary to the calorie bro belief, we're not just dumb bags of bones and organs that process calories all day. The body has a lot of other things to do. There's a lot of other processes and systems in the body that have to work. So if we can just do the feeding thing and then get that handled, and then the body can do other things, that's kind of how we're designed. And it's amazing how well your body can work when you're just not eating all day long. Now, from a weight loss perspective, I already touched on this. You take away snacking, you save yourself a lot of extra calories of unaccounted for food, right? Snack foods, even if it's a healthy snack, fam, if it's freaking carrots and hummus or cottage cheese with an apple slice, it's just not satiating you. It's just knocking the edge off hunger, and you're just consuming more and more little nibbles of food that are not delivering the satiety signal. If you just got to satiety and then just rode that wave of satiety for hours, you would actually eat less. That's the secret to my weight loss program. I just gave it to you for free. The secret to my weight loss program is getting you well satiated so you eat less. You do have to eat less to lose weight. You have to have that energy deficit. It's still a thing. It's not the only thing. So if anybody tells you it's just calories, they're wrong. But it is a thing. It is a thing. We have to have an energy deficit to lose weight. And one of the ways of doing that is to be less hungry. That's how Ozempic works. People are just not hungry. Now, that's not great because they're not eating a nourishing diet. A lot of times me, even when I was on Ozempic, I had a hard time eating a nourishing diet because I was so unhungry. But if you're just a healthy human living a regular human life, just eat great meals, follow the first 4 Eat Simple parameters, eat great meals to satiety. The satiety signal is the game changer for your cravings, your sugar addiction that you've self-identified as having, your emotional eating, or your boredom eating. You think you're some kind of broken human because you eat when you're emotional. You're just hungry. Go have some food. Eat to satiety. Ride the wave of satiety. I do have to circle back to the concept of fasting because I mentioned it, right? I said humans are feasting and fasting animals, and maybe your ears perked up when you heard me say fasting. Now you're thinking, oh, she's saying I have to fast to lose weight. No, I'm not. I'm saying you have to eat to satiety to lose weight. Please let me say that again. I'm not saying fasting is going to help you lose weight. I'm saying eating to satiety and riding the wave of durable satiety will help you lose weight by eliminating snacking. Also having some impact on your metabolic rhythm, shall we say. We eat in this funnel shape is just really good for the machinery of metabolism to kind of reharmonize. So the actual machinery that moves your fuel in and out of storage, which is ultimately what's happening in fat loss, that machinery is just working better because we now reharmonized the system, right? I'm not talking about fasting. I just want you to know I'm not a fasting coach. I don't honestly have a high opinion of intermittent fasting as it's now been, in modern parlance, sort of declared as some miraculous approach. Because nobody knows how to eat. If you don't know how to eat, you have no business fasting. So there's no way we're starting with fasting. This is not about fasting. This is about feasting. I'm an intermittent feasting coach, baby. The fasting is the byproduct of achieving satiety. You get into a fasting paradigm multiple times a day, right? For example, let's say I eat breakfast at 9 a.m. I break fast epically at 9 a.m. Then I live my life for 5 or 6 hours or more sometimes, depending if I really nail the breakfast, and maybe I have dinner at 4 p.m. I fasted technically between 9 and 4, but I wasn't fasting, if that makes sense. I just didn't eat because I wasn't hungry. I didn't have any snack urges. I didn't find myself boredom eating in the pantry. I'm not a sugar addict reaching for the sugar. I'm just not hungry for 7 hours, 6, 7, 5, whatever. It doesn't matter. Quite honestly, I don't care how many hours. It doesn't matter. But technically, in between meals, you're fasting, unless you're snacking all day long. But if you play to the satiety signal, you will have intermittent fasts throughout your day. That's extremely normal for a human, to the point where I think it's cheesy that we've coined intermittent fasting. We're freaking capitalizing it. Fasting intermittently is the human condition. That's how humans are meant to eat. It's not a trademarked paradigm that somebody invented. It's quite normal to intermittently fast between meals. I don't know why it became a thing. The modern view of intermittent fasting, I don't agree with, which typically shakes out like skip breakfast, have your first meal at like dinner time. That's from a circadian rhythm perspective, a human animal, a diurnal animal, a human, is not meant to eat all of its nutrients at night. So I really don't like that style of intermittent fasting. I don't think that's going to work for most people. But the biggest problem is most people that I engage with don't even know how to eat. If you don't know how to feast, you have no business fasting. The feasting comes first. The fasting is a byproduct of the feasting. Learn how to feast, learn how to feed yourself. Before you try fasting, you better damn well know how to eat, because at some point you're going to have to break your fast. What's it going to be? Is it a free-for-all? You can have whatever you want because you fasted for 16, 18 hours. I have a low opinion of fasting. It's one of many things I have a low opinion of. I just don't think it's helping my clients, my people, women, mostly Gen X women who we're pros at starving, baby. I mean, come on, starvation diets, sorry to be triggering, but that's our bread and butter. Ooh, that was a weird metaphor to choose. We're really good at not eating. We're professional dieters. We know how to restrict. We know how to white knuckle it through willpower. We know how to eat 0-calorie jello for lunch. Like, we know how to do all this. What we don't know how to do is feed ourselves. And I know that sounds childish or like I'm petulant or insulting, possibly, to say you don't know how to eat, but I don't think you do. So all of the rules leading up to this moment are, here's how to eat. Now what's going to happen when you get this working for you is you're going to find yourself fasting accidentally. And there's no magic in fasting from a weight loss perspective. I think fasting is a really neat metabolic pressure test. That's how I view it. Can I fast? Can I go a long period of time without flying off the rails, getting hangry, flipping out? Like, am I metabolically flexible enough to just not eat for a while? I think about like a long travel day, which, by the way, if you can do it, if you can persist with quiet hunger signals on, for example, a long travel day, you're at the airport, you're on an airplane, whatever, getting to the hotel, fasting comes in very handy. Like, I'll just wait to eat when I get settled in the hotel, go for a nice dinner, right? I'm good. I don't need to eat all day long. I can just sort of ride the wave of my body's stored fuel and the meal I ate before I got on the plane, and I can live my life in, doing air travel, which is kind of annoying, a very snack-laden also activity in the modern human experience. Just for some reason, we love to snack while we're sitting on our ass at airports and airplanes. I'm not sure what that's about. But like, I think it's neat to say, oh, I can't eat right now. I'll just wait. I think it's so useful. And it's just neat to see if your body can do it, because a healthy human body metabolically should be able to go long periods of time without eating, quite honestly. It should be really easy for us. It's not a thing. We don't have to give a label to it. We don't have to call it intermittent fasting. Humans are intermittent fasters. You should be able to do that. And if you can't, then that's a little metabolic dysregulation you might want to sort out. You should be able to feast and fast. But the way to get into that is to start practicing the act of feasting. I really do like this idea on a spiritual level. I think about the concept of satiety, which I think about all the time because it's such a cornerstone of my programming. And I know this is going to sound pretty feminist, but I'm going with it. So buckle up, baby. In a lot of ways, I feel like women especially, we're very unsatiated, just generally speaking. We've been programmed or trained to never give ourselves enough of what we need. We're sacrificing our needs for the others. That's the maternal instinct. We come by that, honestly. That's not a defect of your character either. But we just spend decades of life being very unsatiated. Like, for example, I was a worker, right? I went to work and I busted my ass at work to try to make something of myself and climb a corporate ladder, get recognized, be appreciated, be compensated. And I never quite was. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of glass ceiling narrative, but I never quite was. I could go in and pull all-nighters and crush the deliverables and be on time and under budget, and I was never really getting the recognition or the compensation that I feel I earned. I was quite unsatiated professionally, if you will. I think women go unsatiated sometimes in relationships, sometimes sexually, nutritionally. We put off our own pleasures and desires and put others in front of us. So we just generally go through life very unsatiated in almost every way. Giving women back the power of satiety feels really good. And we can start with food because it's, first of all, your body's been waiting for. Your body has been waiting for you to deliver it a satiety signal. But practicing the act of fully nourishing, feeling the sensation of nourishment, and then riding that wave, feeling so good about riding that wave, and then giving the body back more what it needs when it asks for it. We're practicing the art of satiating and satisfying our basic needs. And I don't think women do that. This is skill development. This is a massive development of a crucial skill. And we can more easily and plainly apply it to food. But then you can extrapolate it to other areas of your life. Where else am I unsatiated? How else can I feel this feeling of durable satiety in my life where I'm not chasing and wanting? The concept of satiety is a game-changing weight loss factor, but I also want you to feel it because it is an incredibly rewarding feeling. And so when I talk about pushing your meal intervals, which is the topic of today's discussion, it's not because I want you to fast. It's because I want you to feel satiated, nourished. I want you to feel feasted. I want you to feel adequate. You have everything you need. And this concept of satiety is a beautiful thing. And once you feel it, you're never going to want to unfeel it. I promise you that.